So just quickly, if you have any questions, I probably want to answer questions till the end, and we'll do those in the Q&A inside the inside your box there. And we're going to be talking about today. Are you building a business or a crappy job? How you doing? My name is Mitch Riback. For those of you that don't know me, but how could you not know me? But I'm kidding. But anyways, so I've been in business my whole life. I'm going to give you a little background here. I've been a client entrepreneur. I've owned 23 companies over the last 44 years. Yes, I am that old, even though I don't look it. I know I look like I'm in my 20s still. If I had a full head of hair, it would definitely have me look like I'm in my 20s. Been in real estate for about 23 years. It'll be 23 years in September. Sold 36 homes my first year, 50 my second year, 80 my third, 80 my fourth. I started a team and then started a brokerage. Known as the godfather of internet lead conversion. Basically, everything you see out there for internet lead conversion is based on the stuff that I started 20 years ago. God, I believe it's been that long now, 22 years ago. I was first person doing forced registration online. I was first person using inside salespeople to convert leads. I built my brokerage up to 120 agents, and in 2017 decided I really didn't like having a brokerage, and decided to merge it with eXp Realty. And I now run a team of about 2,200 agents, close to 2,250 actually, in 49 states and 7 countries. So that's a little background on myself. Nothing really exciting, except the only thing that I'm actually good at is looking at businesses differently than everybody else looks at them. I've done that with I was the third paintball business in the country, really the second. I was the first online dating service in the country. There's a lot of stuff I've done first because I look at things differently than most people do. So this class, are you building a business or are you building a crappy job? It's really important to me over the next few years of my life to really impact as many lives as possible, because what I'm finding, there's a lot of people that sell a lot of homes. There's a lot of people that don't sell a lot of homes, but they're all miserable, right? I talked to an agent the other day, just totally miserable by how many homes he sells, and what little he sells 80 homes a year and he has no life. So, one of the things I've learned by being that person who's built a crappy job, not a business, over the years, and the beginning of my business career, I've learned over the years that it's really important. If you're not building a business, you really don't have anything. And what does that even mean? What is a business? A business is really something that you would, um, if something happens to you, you can actually still run the business. The business still goes. And in real estate, that's challenging because in real estate, realtors are generally their business. And we're not going to talk about some of the things today, such as the modern team, which we did the last class we did, in part of my Big Lie book. This is part of my Big Lie book also. In fact, every month we'll be doing something based on a chapter of my book. But let's just talk about the basics. First of all, should or should you not start a corporation? That's up to you. There's no real right or wrong on that one. It might be state specific. Here in Florida, where I live, my accountant told me I didn't need to, and I never did. Now I have lots of friends of mine that own that turned their real estate business into a corporation. I never did that. And I had obviously a corporation from my brokerage, but I didn't have I never did it as a realtor. And to this day, still, I still sell some homes, and I don't do it to this day. One thing is really important, that is, don't commingle your funds. Like, you should have a separate bank account and credit card for your business. I know this sounds basic, but yet most people don't, right? And I'll tell you where the most important part of this is: when you get to do your taxes. When you go to do your taxes and you commingle, which I did at the beginning, by the way, it's a mess. It takes forever to do your taxes. If you have a separate bank account and separate credit card, you're pretty much done with your taxes. You can turn all that into your accountant. Commission checks, really important that you start building this as a business. So a lot of people will get a $10,000 commission check, or whatever the number might be, depending where you live. California, that might be $100,000 commission check. But you need to set it up right from the beginning correctly. So you start with a 30% goes into taxes, 30% goes into a marketing fund, and 40% is your paycheck. And when you do this, you're never going to get, you know, caught in April, or going actually working January through April just to pay your taxes. And again, I see that I did that at the beginning. This is why I teach this stuff now. It's all mistakes that I've made. Uh, and most importantly, you need a good accountant. Any good business, you need two things: you need a good lawyer and you need a good accountant. For this standpoint, you don't necessarily need a lawyer, although I have a couple of really good lawyers, but you definitely need a good accountant. Okay, so that's just the basics of starting any company. And again, some people on here may not even be in the real estate business. So we're just talking about, most businesses. And I'll give you an example of that. I helped a photography company once, a big photo company. and they were a mess. I mean, the owner was working 100 hours a week. She had no life, 7 days a week. And by the time I was done with her, teaching her how to actually form this as a business, over a little over a year later, she came to my office and she said, "Mitch, I just want to let you know I'm retiring. My business is on autopilot now because of what you taught me," which is really, I love when I get those comments because it means that what I actually teach makes a difference, which is kind of nice, right? Um, but it's all about making sure you're not the technician in your business. There's a great book called E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, which I read in 1999. It changed, actually 98, and it changed my life. I realized that even though I had all these businesses, I wasn't really running a business. I was running a really, really crappy job. Right. So let's start with first thing. First thing first. And when I talk about business plans, I'm not a detail guy. We're going to have a class soon with a detail person. That's all they do is business plans because I think it's really important. But I'm a really ADDDDDD simple guy. I like to keep things really easy and just like I say, keep it simple. So I need to know, what are my projections? How many sales am I getting? What does that mean from a revenue standpoint? Right? How am I going to generate leads? Everybody knows, I always ask, what business are we in? And people always say, we're in the people business or in the relationship business. No, you're in the lead generation business. So if you're not thinking in lead generation business, you're not running a business in the first place. Right. So what are you going to, how are you going to generate leads? Mine was open houses. Out of my 36 sales my first year, 28 were from open houses. Are you going to do circle of influence, which is what I teach now a lot of, which will be another one of our classes coming up. Open houses, pay-per-click advertising, Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, any of those things. And what's your budget? So you need to have a budget in your plan so you know how much money you're going to spend. And then what are you going to spend that money on? And more importantly, what's the return on each of those investments? And those are things you need to track. So not only do you write this business plan, but you have to track everything that you're doing. If you're not tracking what you're doing, you're not really doing it, right? So it's very important that you're tracking every aspect of your business so you're running a business. Okay. And then the final thing is, when do you add an assistant? When do you add a transaction coordinator? These are all things that are really important that you need to, plan. So when I had my first day, I remember my first day was September 10th, 2001. I went in and I did a two-page business plan, which is basically figuring out what I was going to do. I didn't have a circle of influence because I literally didn't know anybody but my girlfriend, who's now my wife. Um, and that was about it. That's the only person I knew because when I had my business prior to that, which was the online dating service, I was on the road 25 days a month. So when I sat down to write my business plan, I just kept it simple. How am I going to generate leads? And I came up with four things. I knew I was going to do open houses because everybody told me not to. I knew I was going to do internet because everybody told me not to. I knew I'd be networking, and my networking consisted of baseball, golf, ping pong, and bowling. And back then we had floor time. So those were my four avenues that I was going to generate money from, business from. And if you notice all of those, with the exception of the internet, none of them had a cost, right? Well, if I went golfing, it had a cost, but I'm talking none of them had a real cost. And I didn't start doing my internet stuff until January of 2002. Most importantly, you have to do the work, right? So we can build a business plan all we want, but if you're not doing anything with that, if you're not doing the work, then don't write the business plan. Okay, so we're going to talk about a bunch of different stuff here, and the biggest thing is to be proactive, and you set the standards. And what do I mean by that? We have two types of realtors that I've observed over the last 23 years. I have reactive realtors, which is 99%, and proactive. What is the difference? A reactive realtor is somebody waiting for the phone to ring. That's it. The a proactive realtor is someone that is going to set their standards. Again, I'll go over this in a few seconds, and they're going to make sure business is coming to them because they're going after business. Proactive. I'm going to go after business. That's typical, like the guys that are cold calling expires and FSBOs. And that's not my style. I didn't do any of that. I did FSBOs, but I didn't do any of that. And again, I'm going to hold off on any questions until we're done here. So just any questions you have, just hold off on them. So firstly, it's important to educate your customers from the start. This is about setting standards, being the professional. And this is my line, and I'm not going to go into a lot of details on this, but just so you understand it, my line was, like everybody, I was a buyer's agent first 2 years of my career. I did some listings. I think I had 8 listings my first 2 years, but mostly buyers. And I did 36 my first year and 50 my second year, as I said earlier. But I educated my buyers, and I educated my buyers for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to know how I worked as a business. And two, I wanted to make sure that I had my life. Now, I'm going to tell you what I started saying after my, I almost died in 2004. And that's what I'm going to use that line from. Uh, so what I would say to my buyers is, let me explain to you how I run my business. I'm going to give you 150% in finding your home. I'm really, really good at it, but I do expect one thing in return, and that is loyalty. I don't get paid unless you buy a home from me. So if for some reason you're not happy with me, feel free to just dump me, right? Get rid of me. Um, and the question I had on here is, will this recording be sent? Yes, this will be sent to everybody. So we educate our customers from day one. Then I say, are you remotely interested in new construction? Because as you know, if you don't register someone at new construction, you don't get paid. If they were remotely interested in new construction, we spent that day getting them registered at all the uh, communities that would match them, because I did not want them going there without me. Uh, and then we talk about for sale by owners and what happens then. We talked about listing signs, and we talked about open houses. So I went over all four of those in detail on what to do when they go into those places, or if they see those things, so they retain me as my customer. I would say also that you have me from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, Monday through Saturday. Again, I started doing that on in 2004 because I almost died, and I realized I needed to at least have Sundays off with my wife at that point. And the cool thing about it is I never lost a customer. Never lost a guy. Nobody fired me. I didn't lose any customers because I set the standard. Nobody called me before 8 o'clock. Nobody called me after 8 o'clock at night. Nobody called me on Sundays. Now, occasionally you get a call, but very, very seldom. And it really set the course for my career from that point on how I run my business. So if you say you're going to be 8 to 8 in Monday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., don't respond to texts or calls after those hours or before those hours, because once you do, you're changing the narrative now. So you're saying I'm going to do that, but I'm not really going to do that. So if you text me, I'll call you. Your voicemail should set that standard. Hey, you reached Mitch Riback with eXp Realty. If you're calling me after 6 o'clock at night, or in my case 8 o'clock at night, I'll call you first thing tomorrow morning after 8 o'clock, or the next business day if you don't work weekends. Again, setting the standard and being proactive is so important because it also sets you as a professional, which to me is the most important part of the whole thing. What does your daily schedule look like? And I think it's important because you have to look at time blocking. Are you time blocking your life? Like, what are you doing? How many hours a week are you going to work? These are all questions you need to ask yourselves while you're building your plan. If you don't want to work, you don't have to work 7 days a week. You don't have to work 6 days a week. You can work 5 days a week and run a really, really successful business. Uh, you determine that. Now, you do have to have certain people that go to people if for some reason you're not going to work on certain days, which I have several of them. Uh, but determine what you want to work. I will advise you, because I'm all about living your life and not chasing money and chasing freedom, is don't miss out on life while you're busy trying to build a business. And I did. And I tell this when I speak from the heart when I talk about this. I can't remember 5 things I did with my kids when they were growing up. I was there. I was working 100 hours a week, 80 to 100 hours a week. I was never present. Time blocking. The only way you can really run a business efficiently and do what I'm talking about in 40 or 50 hours a week is by time blocking your life. So if you looked at my calendar, which I'm not going to show you, if you looked at my calendar, you would see that I have every hour pretty much on the hour booked out. And what do I do with that? Sometimes I just book out playing guitar, right? Play guitar. I just block out times. I used to block out times for my family. I say I had to be at the restaurant by 6 o'clock with my family. And then as the years went by and I realized I wasn't present, I tried to be more present with my family, because ultimately the most important job you have is husband, wife, mom or dad, maybe brother, sister, son or daughter. I guess we could throw a few things, uncle, niece. But the reality, that's the most important job you have. The real estate stuff is how we pay our bills. It's not everything else. Um, how many hours a day are you going to prospect? Right? You need to have these set in stone where if you're going to practice between 9 and 11, and I'll throw this out to you because I hear this a lot. I'll have people set up a coaching call with me and cancel the day of or something like that. If you had a wedding that day, you would not cancel something, right? So if you're going to prospect 2 hours a day, that's going to be set in stone. And maybe you're just doing that 3 days a week, 2 days a week, or 5 days a week, whatever it is. But whatever it is, set it in stone. Because if you're not constantly being proactive about getting business, you're not getting business, right? And then how many hours a week to go network with consumers or other agents. You should never ever be doing nothing. I'll give you a quick story on this. I had an agent come to me last year, and I like the story a lot. She'd moved here and only been with us for about 4 months in this area, and she came to meet with me, and I'm like, what are you doing all day long? She goes, well, I'm on social media, trying to build my social media presence. And I can tell you that the majority of realtors that I know and talk to get maybe two, three, four, 5 deals a year from social media. It's not where they build their business from. They have it out there, but it's not where they build their business from. And I said, well, no one's going to knock on your door to say, hey, come buy a house with me, or come sell me a house, or come sell my house. It's not going to happen. So I made her do something I'll share with you really quickly, which is go to a coffee shop and talk to the person in front of them. And this is how that conversation goes. It's like, hey, how's your day going today? And I do this all the time, by the way. That's how I build my list. How's your day going today? It's going great. Or they'll say it's going good. Very once in a while they say it sucks, but very seldom. And then they're always, always, always going to say, how's your day going? Oh, I'm in the real estate business, kind of crazy. And then they say, you're in the real estate business. How's the market? And I say, oh, I'm just it's a little weird right now, but if you like, I set all my friends up so they're getting a monthly update. They send them every month on what's going on in our local market here. Would you be interested in getting that? And I add that person to my database. So that's something, by the way, you should be doing every single day forever. You should always be adding one person to your database. But most importantly, you should never be doing nothing. If you're doing nothing, you're not building a business, right? You're just doing nothing. I don't get the concept of that, yet I see it all the time. Self-help events, right? And events. So I think it's really important that you build yourself. I can't tell you how many realtors I talk to that have never read a sales book, never looked at themselves. I've been to Tony Robbins seminars, Tom Hopkins seminars, so many seminars I've been to over the years. And I think they're really important. So what does your self growth look like? What are you doing for yourself that helps you grow as a person? And I'm not talking just real estate. This is about growing as a person. That's what I love about Tony Robbins stuff. It just helps you grow as a person. What books are you reading to become a stronger salesperson? And you can see down the bottom, I have some books listed for you. I'm going to send, by the way, the recording and the PowerPoint to everybody, so you don't have to write all this stuff down. I will be sending it out to you guys. What books are you going to read to help you become a stronger person? Sales seminars or Tony Robbins seminars. What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? I'll give you a secret on this. Do not try to fix your weaknesses. Now, with that said, being ADD, I had to master contracts really quickly because that was my biggest weakness. But that's a must. I must do contracts to be in this business. Of course, now I haven't written a contract personally in 10 years. I have other people write them for me. But I think you want to work on those. What are your strengths? And let's work on your strengths because that's to me more important than any of your weaknesses. Your weaknesses you're probably not going to fix. You might, but over the years of training hundreds of agents and coaching them and thousands of training agents, nobody really fixes their weaknesses. They don't work hard enough to do that. So work hard to make your strengths stronger. Right? Are you good at cold calling? Then become really, really awesome at that. Are you great at door knocking? Become awesome at that. Are you great at open houses? Become awesome at that. And then there's a few books I really think you should read. The Ultimate Sales Machine is by Chet Holmes. It's probably one of the best sales books I've ever read. There's also The 1 Minute Salesman by Kyle Blanchard, which isn't on this list here, but it's great. E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, again, one of my favorite. Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller. Now, I will tell you, he's mostly about teams on that, and I'm not a big believer in building traditional teams anymore. And then I have a book, So You've Got Your Real Estate License, Now What? Which is a good book if you're a newer agent or if you're trying to get yourself kickstarted again if you've been around for a while. And then my new book is called The Big Lie, which kind of talks a little bit about how we get from we become really successful as a realtor, start a team, and then start a brokerage. And the big lie is that you actually make money doing that and have fun. You don't. I just met with a person that owned three uh, franchise brokerages this morning. We had breakfast this morning, and she was telling me how miserable it was having that brokerage, all three offices. All right, so self-help, you got to be spending time on yourself, folks. If you're not, you're missing out. Growth. So this is important stuff. When do you hire a TC? Now, I made a mistake at the beginning is I didn't hire an assistant or TC till I hit 50 sales a year. I should have done transaction coordinator. As soon as you have 5 transactions, you know how to do a transaction, hire a transaction coordinator. One thing you should never be doing is what I call it $10 job, $10 an hour jobs, really $15 an hour jobs now. And that's pretty much anything to do with paperwork, anything to do with uh, database management, anything to do with contract to close. Those are all people that you can contract out. And again, that's all part of running a business. Um, the um, the biggest part of this is how do you level your business up, right? So we want to grow your business. I learned when I hit 50 sales, I was not going to get to the next level in sales, which was in my brain 75 sales a year. I was not going to get there unless I had an assistant. Now my assistant was also my TC at the time, so they did everything for me. But I also was able to send them out to inspections for me. I remember in in June of 2004, I had 13 closings that month, and that meant I had 13 every other day. Basically, the month before, I was going to an inspection. So I ended up having my assistant go on most of those inspections for me because I couldn't do that and continue to show property and sell homes. So leverage is the most important tool you can have, and that's how you create freedom. That's how you create a business, right? And I don't think I get into it on the slides, but I'll go over it real quickly with you. You know, the most important thing with leverage is building a team is not leverage. It sounds like it's leverage. I built my brokerage for leverage and freedom, and I don't mean this as offensive, but I got babysitting in prison, and 15 calls a day, 7 days a week. It was a terrible, terrible business. And it's not leverage. Leverage is having a few employees, which would be an assistant, a transaction coordinator, and an inside salesperson, and then having agents that you contract with to pay them hourly to show property for you. That's building a business. Building a business is going on a listing appointment, coming back and giving the listing contract to your assistant and having them handle everything else out there. And I haven't sold homes for 2 years, but 3 years ago, I had about 30 sales. I worked probably 100 hours that year, not that week, that year to do 30 transactions. So did I make a little bit less money? I did, but not much less money. That I had more freedom than I had money. Make sense so far? None of this stuff, by the way, is rocket science. It's just what people need to be doing. I want to talk about life. So there's a fine line between building a business and a business running you. Almost all my realtor friends, their businesses are running them. So I'm going to give you a quick story on this. Met with a guy, 62 years old, so same age as me. Well, I'm 63 now, but 62 when we talked a few months back. And he sells 80 homes a year and has for 35 years. Never got married, never had kids, doesn't really date much, doesn't have a girlfriend right now. And I said to him, I go, what are you doing? He's like, what do you mean, what am I doing? I go, what are you doing? You're going to die soon. And, the average age of a realtor is 55. That means you got maybe 20 years, 25 years of good mobility left. That goes by really quick, right? When you get a little older, if you're a little bit older, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But when I was talking to him, I'm like, what are you gonna do? And I actually said to him, I said, well, how many homes a year are there buyers? I mean, how many homes a year do you sell there with buyers? He goes, half. I said, all right, so 40. I said, it's safe to say you sell between 60 and 70 different people a home each year to sell 40. And he said, yeah, probably. And I said, well, stop doing that and stop paying people $25 an hour to show property for you. Get your life back because you're going to die soon. And I don't want to see you guys, die without enjoying your life. One of my favorite lines I wrote years ago was, don't let life pass you by. Before you live, you'll probably die. I did that. I did that for most of my life. And I'm on a mission now, like I said at the beginning, to change that for people. I don't want to see people miss out on this part of their life. I think it's so important. So don't lose track of what's important. You can do 50 plus homes a year, working 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week. Understand your values. Let's talk about values for a second. A year ago or so, I hit a brick wall. I don't often hit brick walls. I'm usually pretty hyper and energetic, but I hit a brick wall. And so Jared Robbins, Tony Robbins' son, is the president of Success Coaching, which we own at EXP. And I was on a meeting with an agent thinking about joining my group, and my wife was with me, and we walked out. And she goes, "I got to tell you, you were terrible. You just were not good." And I didn't care. And she goes, "You lost your mojo." So I reached out to Jarek a couple days later. I said, "I've lost my mojo. I need some help." So he brought in some really important stuff that changed the way I think. It helped me understand my values better. The last time I actually looked at my values was in 2008 with his father, Tony Robbins. And it was back then, it was family business me. I'm sorry, it was business family me. And my business was first all the time. What it really should have been is family, me, and then the business. Because if your family's not buying into what you're doing, which my wife hated real estate when we were as our brokerage, if you're not healthy, it doesn't work, and your business will follow you. So I made all these mistakes most of my life. I missed out on so many important things in my life. So if you're younger and you've got kids, that's your priority. If you're older and you've got grandkids, that's your priority. If you have nobody and you're married, that's your priority. Girlfriend, boyfriend, I don't care what it is. That's your priority. Um, I want to talk to you about health for a second. And I was going to give you a little formula that I use every morning. And I have incredible energy, and my blood work is perfect right now. With that said, I'm a diabetic with high cholesterol and high blood pressure. I don't take any medicine except for blood pressure medicine, which I used to take twice a day. I now take maybe twice a week. And because of this mixture, so what I take every day is I take a three-quarters of a shot of vodka, no, okay, three-quarters of a shot of olive oil, a teaspoon of chia seeds, a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and a half a teaspoon of turmeric, and sprinkle a little black pepper on that. And I let it sit for 10 or 15 minutes, and then I chug it down. And that I've been doing now since December 1st, and it's changed my life. I've lost a lot of weight. I've my blood work was off the charts perfect. Uh, I've cut my blood pressure pills down just twice a week, sometimes once a week, and all because I did that. And that really was a life changing thing. So your health is such an important thing. It has to be a major part of your life, or you're not going to be sustainable. Just reality, right? Sometimes you need to look in the mirror. I have this thing I call the mirror to your success. And sometimes you need to look in the mirror and you need to um, be honest with yourself. Are you out of shape? Are you eating healthy? If you're working 80, 100 hours a week, you're not eating healthy most of the time. Make it a priority. And I will tell you, I wake up every day like totally ready with vigor and energy to go for multiple reasons, not just my little drink that I make every morning, but I also get a good night's sleep almost every day. I'm not perfect at that one. But one of the things I learned is if you do not take care of your, uh, if you don't sleep, your brain doesn't cure. The only way your brain heals itself is during sleep. So getting great night's sleep is really important if you really want to have optimal time on your life. Most importantly, have fun. People ask me all the time, how'd you sell so many homes? I go, I just had fun. I make jokes all the time. I'm a goofball. I don't take much serious in life. I mean, obviously my transactions and my all the stuff I do, I take serious, but I do it with a grain of salt. Life's short, you know. When if you're younger out there, you don't think about that. When you're in your 20s and 30s, you don't think about mortality. But I can tell you, it creeps up really, really quickly. I was 25 years old just a couple of years ago, and it went by really, really quick. And I really wish someone told me what I'm telling you guys today. Have fun. If you're not having fun, get out of the business. This is not a business. You shouldn't be doing anything in your life that's not fun. And like I said, determine if this business is for you. If you're making excuses every day while you're not doing your job or your business, running your business, then get out of the business. And I say that with a tender heart, by the way. Um, I've had this conversation with many people over the years, and I'm honest now because not everybody's cut out to be good at this business. And if you're not selling it properly, you're not helping people buy and sell homes, figure out why. And most of the time it's because you're not doing the work, or you didn't build a plan, or you don't have a good mentor, you didn't have someone's coaching, and all those things are really, really important. Invest in your business. That's it. That's all I want. That's all I have on here to talk about because those are all really important things. Let me get rid of this real quick. Hold on a second. Let me stop the share because I want to talk to you. And I always try to keep these things a half hour or so. Someone say, can I put the health drink formula into the chat? Yes, I can. Give me a second. That'll take a second to write in there. But one of the things I've learned, I said, I've run so many companies over the years, and I didn't run most of them. I was just a technician, and that's what that book E-Myth Revisited talks about. It talks about being the technician. Um, Shot glass. So it's 3/4 shot glass of olive oil. In the olive oil, you have to use good olive oil. It is 1 teaspoon of. This is all unbelievable, by the way. If you get everybody that I've turned on to this concoction, has called me and said, "What an energy thing." My wife was totally like not buying it, and I came home like 2 days after maybe 3 days after she started drinking it, and the house was torn apart. I mean, she literally had things everywhere. She goes, "I have so much energy." 1 teaspoon of chia seeds. I also do, by the way, I do intermittent fasting. 22 hours pretty much every day. I had a breakfast meeting today, so I did eat breakfast today, but I probably won't eat the rest of the day. I generally eat between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock every day. Unbelievable for your health. It's great. Doing 3 day fasts are great for your health. I'm not sure how to spell cayenne pepper. I think it's so. Let's see. There's let's see, cayenne pepper. So we get half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, a half a teaspoon of turmeric, or turmeric as it's called. For some reason, I feel like I should call it turmeric, but I guess that would mean you get a tumor, right? 1/2 teaspoon of, which I type better, turmeric, and then a splash of black pepper. Okay. All right, there you go. So the other question I had is, does your assistant have their real estate license? Everybody I hire has a real estate license. And why is that? And we'll talk about each one. If it's going to be an assistant, I want them to be able to do stuff for me. Like if I can't do a showing for some reason, and back then at least when I was showing a lot of homes, I need them to go show property, and I need to be able to do that. I need to be licensed. I'm also able to pay them based on production. So what do I mean by that? That means um, I was able to give a base and a percentage of sales. I couldn't do that if they weren't licensed. My inside salespeople are always licensed. Why were they always licensed? They're always licensed because they can talk about real estate. If you hire these people from out of the country or wherever, not that there's anything wrong with that. They're really inexpensive. But I always look at things from the consumer side. And when I look at things from the consumer side and I see that, I see people who are, um, you know, are having these inside salespeople call that aren't licensed and say, well, I can't really answer that question for you. I'll wait. I'll get Masha on the phone with you. The consumer's like, well, why'd you call me then? Right? Just to see if I was a real person, which is what they're doing basically. But ultimately, when you have a licensed person, they can say, "Oh yeah, yeah, I saw that house on 555 Main Street. Let me look it up for you," and they can actually have a real estate conversation. So that's why I have everybody licensed. TCs, I don't care as much. I haven't personally. I have my general manager handles all that for me when I do have closings. But everybody else is licensed. Inside salespeople and assistants are definitely licensed. Any other questions? What other questions do you have? So the other thing, guys, I'm waiting to see if anybody else has any questions, is I know this is quick, it's only 30 minutes, right? But it could be the most important 30 minutes of your life. And I say that with all sincerity, no ego here, by the way. I'm the one who made all these mistakes so I could figure out how to teach you not to screw up like I did. And I'm really, 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 from my heart, please look at your family. And you can't get that back. If you got kids, don't screw it up. It's all you got, and I did. I mean, I'm struggling. As I started, doing this exercise when I turned 60. Over the last 3 years, I'm trying to figure out more things I do with my kids, and I can't. So I'm gonna have to get with my kids and see that. Oh, I wrote hold on a second. I did the thing to the wrong people. Hold on a second. I did my post to the wrong people. Give me 1 second. Here it comes. I put it to the panelists, and I'm the only panelist. The only person who saw it was me. Yeah, so really take a look at your life, and are you living a life that you really, really want to live? Are you living a life that's built on your terms, or is your business running? If your business is running, you don't have a business, right? If you can't go on vacation, you don't have a business, right? If you have to work every day of the week, you don't have a business. You got to have a life. Live your life. All right. Any other questions about anything? All right. Well, I hope that helps a little bit. One thing, my contact info. Let me put that back up there for anybody. Anybody wants it. Just give me 1 second here. So I do coach people for free. I don't charge anybody anymore. People say, why do I do that? I go, you know what? The only thing I loved about having my brokerage was coaching people and helping people grow their business. I really enjoy that. I'm not going to set up a coaching long term with you. I'll do a coaching session where you look at your business a little bit. So if you're interested in that, send me an email or send me a text, and I'll drop you my calendar. And then you can do that. Actually, I'll put my calendar in the chat box. Let me do that for you guys real quick. I gotta get out of share. So we got that. Let me put my calendar in the box for you guys if you want it. Then you can set up a calendar, time with me. If you happen to be local, we can do it in person. But most people on these things are generally not local. So, but if you are local and you want to do something in person, let me know, and I'm glad to meet with you locally in person. But if not, we'll do a Zoom call. And no ulterior motive. My only goal here is to help people. I'm on a huge mission for the next however many years I'm able to do this. I am going to cut down in a couple of years to 20 hours a week, and those 20 hours will be all about coaching and training and helping people grow. So copy and paste my calendar link there if you want to get together. Have a wicked awesome day, and I'm here to help you guys. All right, take care, everybody. Bye bye.